So there I am. Just got to Cebu. Beautiful place. My wife and I, we need to take a vacation in order to expedite my process of living in the Philippines. And about a month in, we decide to take a trip over to Singapore. And then during that time, we went to Singapore. And then we also went to Malaysia. Had a great time. Spent a week. Spent over some time there. Good stuff. Had no issues. All the way there. You know, Singapore is a little different than all the other places. So after that, we went to Malaysia. And back, we spent a few days in Malaysia. Then we went back to Singapore. Everything was going great. Getting over to the airport. And then next thing you know, here I am. I'm with my wife. I'm thinking everything's fine. We get dropped off by an Uber because in Singapore they have Uber, by the way. They don't have Grab. And I want to say they have Grab in Malaysia, if I remember correctly. But in Singapore they have Uber. So we get dropped off over there. And then all of a sudden, go through, grab my luggage. We're on our way back to Cebu. I'm at the checkout counter. And I have my passport. I go to the window. It's self-service checkout at Changi International in Singapore. And it says, see attendant. Okay. I'm starting to think, okay, everything's okay. Just normal process. And the attendant, airport attendant, says to me, do you have your exit return ticket to the United States? Or exit ticket out of the Philippines? And I knew nothing about that at that time. Was not aware. Someone mentioned some time ago, have an exit ticket, have what you need. And I was like, I didn't know anything about that. So next thing you know, I start to panic because they explained to me, you need an exit ticket from the Philippines. That's the requirements of immigration. Now, this trip we took was for me to get a balikbayan visa when we went back to the Philippines. Little did I know, I had to actually have an exit ticket from the Philippines. So, thank God I have my marriage license. My wife had some credentials. And we ended up talking to the airport attendant there for AirAsia. Explained to her the circumstances of why I was going back to the Philippines. Very polite, very respectful. She understood what was going on, I think, by the time we got done explaining. But she still stood that we had to have an exit ticket. And I was like, oh no, what do I do? A little bit of talking, polite, explaining what was going on. The attendant allowed us to board. She gave me a ticket to leave for my boarding pass. And I was like, whoa. At that moment, I guarantee if I was rude or disrespectful or said anything that I shouldn't, she could have made a decision and elected to have me sent back to the United States because I didn't follow the requirement. Would it have happened? Who knows? But those are the fine lines that you run into as an expat. You can get deported if you don't follow the proper process. I was living in the Philippines. We took a trip to another part of Southeast Asia, to Singapore, Malaysia. And keep in mind, they didn't say anything about it in Malaysia. That was the interesting part. They let us pass through. But in Singapore, when we were leaving, going back to the Philippines, they wanted to know. So keep in mind, when you are there and you leave the Philippines to do a visa run or do something that you need to for immigration purposes, have an exit ticket from the Philippines on your way back to the Philippines. Even though you're going to get stamped for a visa, even though you may not have go to one of those websites buy a ticket. You may not use it. Go to AirAsia, get a cheap ticket, exit, whatever you got to do. But buy an exit ticket from the Philippines. There are plenty of websites where you can do this. And just don't be in that situation. I highly recommend it, especially for all the foreigners, expats that are living currently in the Philippines that have to leave the country every so often. You need to have an exit ticket from the Philippines. That is a requirement, at least for Americans and many other countries there. Since we're full of Americans there in the Philippines, it happens. And for those that are curious of what we're looking at, that's throughout this video. So the cloud coverage, the clouds behind you, the area we're at, there were 2 typhoons passing at the same time. This is Santa Fe, Bantayan Island, Cebu. So that particular weekend, it was the second to last weekend, or I'm sorry, it was my first weekend back. I got there the 13th, and it was the weekend of the 18th, and there were 2 typhoons going back to back. So what you're looking in the background is slightly north of Bantayan, from the Santa Fe side of Bantayan, and you see all the typhoon passing through. Dark skies, and it passed through really quick, because by the time we left the beach, it was really cool. The weather cleared up, and it was later that day where it actually cleared up, because we toured around Madridejos in those areas around Bantayan. Beautiful place. I recommend Bantayan for any of those who want to go somewhere. It is what I would call the miniature Boracay, and at Bantayan Island, there's such a beautiful environment. The beaches are nice. As you can see, these are crystal clear blue waters. You didn't see much trash in the ocean. You didn't see any problems there. And that particular beach is open to the public. You don't have to have a hotel nearby. It's not one of those places where you stay at the hotel and then you go directly to the beach. This is a public beach, and it's open to the community that live there, along with the tourists that pass by. They didn't give us a hard time. We went there. There was no one there that we had to worry about. No challenges, no concerns. So just a lot of serene views. I personally enjoy the ocean, and it was told to me, hey, a little more tropical. So I was able to pull this in, record some information, and just kind of give you guys a little bit of information. I hope you like the views. It's pretty cool, by the way. I'm staying in one particular area, and as you notice on the sand, I bet it said, "Wish you are here." Yes, wish you are here. It's the reason why we leave the West. We take a look at this scenery. We take a look at everything around us. And in the West, we take this for granted. For those from Canada, those from other parts of the world, we take this stuff for granted, because this is actually really beautiful, really easygoing, and it's really fun. And I thank you. Take care.